Hi everybody, this is Scott Dudley from Funnel Fella Radio, and today my special guest is Nate Turner, who's based in Chicago, and he's the co-founder of 10Speed, a content optimization service. Welcome to the show, Nate. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott.
You're welcome. All right, so let's begin by starting off with your background and how you first got into marketing and content optimization.
Yeah, I started getting into marketing and internet marketing specifically 2008, 2009, with SEO being really my first interest and passion there, and grew from there. So I joined an agency. I was in St. Louis at the time, was there for about a year and a half, and really started to track hacker news and in the startup world, and ended up joining Sprout Social at the beginning of 2011 as the first marketer. So that was kind of my first jump into a startup company. And so I was the first marketer there pretty early, and I was just fortunate that it was a great company and great opportunity that I was able to be there for almost 9 years and help the company grow from 0 to 100 million. They've since IPO'd. And so that was an awesome experience across, a lot of growth marketing and demand generation, and SEO and content was a huge part of what we did there. And then for a little over a year, I've been doing like growth marketing consulting with a number of SaaS companies before starting 10Speed.
Okay, awesome. All right, then tell me a little bit about 10Speed and your three-step process of explore, enhance, and evaluate.
Yeah. So 10Speed is a content optimization service. So we layer in with companies that have existing marketing teams and are already creating content, and whether that's in-house or with freelancers. And we're essentially bringing the deep SEO expertise to that process, where we are doing a lot of the research and analysis of existing content as well as content opportunities, and then providing them a detailed brief for each piece of content. So 2 to 4 briefs a month typically, and that outlines everything they need to do, everything they need to write or change for existing stuff. And that is really the guidance they need to pair with the subject matter expertise they have, and brand voice and things that they already have established to really help them improve their rankings, organic traffic, and conversions as well. So that's the way we're working. And so we're digging into the data, then helping them improve the content, and then kind of evaluating the results. And it's just an ongoing sort of long-term relationship.
Nice. Okay, excellent. All right, so when would you say it's the right time to invest in content marketing or SEO?
I think, really SEO, I would say typically like from the beginning, as early as possible. A lot of early stage companies are just anxious to get a website up and do things as quickly as possible. But SEO is, really all the way down to foundationally what technology you're using, and decisions of whether your blog is on a subdomain or in a subfolder and things like that. So I would say as early as possible there. And from a content marketing perspective, across video, written content, ebooks, webinars, whatever you're doing, I would say as early as you can do it well, and really focusing on like quality over quantity and creating value. Yeah, it
makes sense. Yeah, for sure. All right, so as far as 10Speed is concerned, who's your ideal customer, niche, or target market?
Yeah, so we're working with a lot of SaaS companies, some D2C as well. Really, anyone that is like organic traffic is important to their business. So a lot of companies, the inbound model, companies that have existing content, 100 or more blog posts or any sort of written content, maybe API documentation or support articles. But that's really the key focus for us, just because there's a lot of the foundation. They already have a lot of the mechanisms in place that we can just really layer in what we're doing and help them get more from that.
Okay, so on top of sort of SEO and content, do you offer other services as well? Things such as, funnels, traffic, conversion rate optimization, or is it just mainly focused on content and SEO?
That's definitely our core focus. I think the two main things being like I said, optimizing some of the existing content that's declined in performance or just isn't doing as well, and as well as like giving them guidance on highly optimized new content they can create. But as part of our engagements, we do start with some level of technical SEO audit, just to make sure that there's no major red flags or things from a foundational standpoint that are going to hinder performance. And we do also take a look at data as we're going through a lot of the Search Console and analytics data. We're understanding which pages have a lot of traffic and maybe not as many conversions, or things like that, and looking at the actual layout of your blog and different aspects of the site. So we do make a lot of recommendations for improving conversions, whether that's adding CTAs to a certain post, or changing what level, like if it's top of funnel traffic but you're trying to push your product, like maybe switching that up and making recommendations along those lines. So they're not necessarily formal conversion rate services, but it's definitely part of the overall engagement.
So, but if someone asked you, for example, for help with pay-per-click advertising, would you recommend somebody for that, or just say that no, we don't do that?
Yeah, we wouldn't do that. We're definitely pretty focused on content and SEO. So
yeah, fair enough.
We'd definitely refer somewhere else. Yep.
Sounds good. All right, so tell us about one of your best testimonials or customer success stories, without mentioning the specific customer, and maybe go into a bit of detail why you believe it performed so well.
Sure. We do have a particular SaaS company we've been working with for a while, and they have priced several hundred existing blog posts, and have been doing that for a while. Organic is an important channel to the business for not just traffic, but also leads and customers and revenue.
Yep.
And had a pretty decent publishing cadence, but I think we're sort of in the same pattern that a lot of companies are in, which is you're kind of always looking ahead, what's going to be created next, and kind of get into that pattern of creating a certain amount each month, and you create it and move forward and don't necessarily look back to see how things are doing and how it's working. And so looking through the data, definitely found a lot of opportunities of stuff that's really quality writing, really, really good information, and just was, in certain cases, has just become dated, and in others was not fully robust and really hitting on all the aspects that were really surrounding the search intent for those queries at this point. And so found a lot of opportunity from that standpoint, as well as some of the just structuring of the actual content on the site, and things like H2s, H3s, things like that are opportunities as well. So that was really what we were seeing, and just continue to see through there. So we've had 11 of the 12 pieces that have that they've optimized with us have had significant gains, looking at like over 350% average traffic increase for each piece of content on sort of like 1 month after it's been optimized. And overall, I think they're kind of like 180% year over year growth on organic traffic now.
Awesome.
Since starting with us. So yeah, it's just a lot of things that work well. And one of the things that's really exciting about content optimization for existing companies and more established companies is that when you already have that domain authority, Google's already been crawling your site, and a lot of that context is there, then a lot of times just making the right structural changes and adding some of the right context and adding content, sometimes consolidating a couple pieces, can really have some pretty fast and dramatic results in performance versus some other tactics.
Nice. Okay. Just a question that comes to mind. Have you found it tough to keep up with all the changes to SEO? Because I would imagine, like, compared to 10 years ago, it seems to just be changing all the time. And with all the algorithm changes that Google makes and so on and so forth, is it sort of difficult to keep up to date with that, or what do you reckon?
I mean, I think we've been doing it long enough that I think there's kind of always, you just kind of get used to the steady current of subtle changes, and I think there's certainly bigger changes. Like the BERT update a little over a year ago has certainly been a big one, and then there's always kind of the little additional ripples and looking through that. So that's typically one of the nice things about being able to work with a number of companies is you can kind of understand by having, looking at multiple data sets, what's really like a global impact and what are certain things that just affect, a specific website or a specific vertical, things like that. So there's definitely a lot, but I think, somewhat conditioned to it. And I think that's also kind of what makes it interesting. And
that's true.
Just kind of keeps things moving. And what we like to be able to offer as an advantage to our customers is really just that they know that that's something that they're staying on top of, and they're not going to be having long-term missed opportunities because they didn't realize performance dipped, because we're taking a look at that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so what are your favorite online tools and platforms that you use to run your business?
I would say, I think a lot of the sort of standard, like, Slack, Zoom, Asana is great just for kind of keeping track of everything we're doing. And then we use, a host of more like SEO and writing tools. So keywords everywhere, and Ahrefs and SEMrush, and some AI writing tools and things like that.
Okay, nice. So what are the biggest mistakes companies make with their content marketing strategy, in your opinion?
I think there's a few things. One I would say is definitely just like giving up too soon, or like there's a couple ways to go about it. Like giving up too soon just because they feel like they tried it and it didn't work. And I think sometimes that's also related to the fact that there's just like inconsistency or really no strategy at all. I think there's a lot of companies whose content marketing strategy consists of this came up on a call, so we want to write about it, or our head of sales had this thought, so they want to write a post about this, or things like that. And I think there's definitely a need for that overall content strategy to be very aligned to the needs of your target customers, and really like creating value and being consistent with the product or services that you offer, things like that. And I would say another is just like I think it's common for companies to invest a certain amount into content marketing, whether that's writers for blog posts or video, webinars, and then really try to compare that as like a very near-term ROI on like bottom of funnel direct ROI impact. When there's typically a lot of higher funnel awareness and reach type of benefits that also come with content. And again, for doing it for a while and kind of building an audience, there's a lot of things that really compound over time and add more value. And so I think when folks are doing something for a while, feel like it didn't add revenue immediately, and therefore isn't worth continuing, I think typically it could be a pretty big mistake.
How many months on average would you expect a customer to start seeing results, especially a customer that's impatient? How many months would you tell them to stick it out for at least?
You're saying like a customer of 10-speed?
Yeah.
Well, on the sort of like the optimization services that we offer, I think like we're typically saying like 90 to 120 days, 3 to 4 months, something like that, should definitely see something. And that's really like from our understanding of kind of what potential there is there, what's their domain authority, like
of course.
We can kind of pick up on enough signals to know what we'd be looking at there. But from there, like earlier stage companies that want to just do all new content and briefs like that, there's a lot of variables, and yeah, like I said, how much domain authority they have, if it's, brand new site and stuff like that, then I think can follow. I think a lot of people have the expectation of anything and everything SEO takes 12 months to see any results. And at times that can be true, but at other times, not necessarily. So definitely varies, but I would say on the optimization front can be pretty short ramp up time. And in some cases, that's like, it can be literally 3 or 4 days. And you just see the traffic spike up from making the right changes.
Yeah. So that sort of leads perfectly into my next question, which is, what are some of the common myths about content marketing and SEO that need to be squashed?
Yeah. So one that I just mentioned is definitely like, and I've heard it a lot, certainly over the years, just that, we don't have time to invest in SEO because, we need direct results right now. And I think that's fair. And I've understood that, that balancing act that's required, from directors of marketing and things like that, of really like hitting your numbers this month versus, building for the future. And but certainly not everything focused on SEO or content takes 9 to 12 months to show positive results. I think there's a lot of folks who kind of get into this mindset that they just need to create a certain amount of, we're doing 10 blog posts a month, so we're good. Or, we're doing all these posts and they're all 1,800 words exactly. So, we're good. Like there's not necessarily a magical number of pieces of content or length of content that really satisfies it and guarantees success. And I think, the other is just like, as you mentioned earlier, like all the algorithms change, like things are just always evolving. And I think that some people can have this perception that it's too crowded and like a new or newer company or website like can't compete. So it's not worth, like, as if it's already set in stone and they can't get in the game. And that's, I think you could probably go back over and over and over and look at examples of new companies that came in and started to outrank some of the incumbents and whatnot. So it's definitely not too crowded, and landscape's always changing, algorithms are changing, search intent is changing, and there's always opportunities to do better and take away from some of the people that are already ranking.
Yeah, it makes sense. Perfect. All right. So what are you curious about or researching right now regarding digital marketing and SEO?
Yeah, so we're definitely researching a lot on, like natural language processing and some of that stuff that's clearly, I think, been signaled by Google as an importance. And so that's really from the SEO standpoint. And the other thing that I've been watching a lot and kind of like researching and digging into is just noticing a big shift in, I guess, content channels, like the increase of things like Patreon and some of those platforms where folks are establishing their own platform and getting paid subscribers for $10 a month just to read their blog articles or for a podcast and things like that. And I think there's a number of those channels that are sort of creator focused that are certainly changing the way that that people are consuming information and also just the channels in which people are choosing to distribute is actually creating their own channel in some cases. So kind of been watching that trend and trying to learn from that as well.
Okay, interesting. All right, so who are your marketing idols or the biggest influences on your career?
Yeah. I think probably some folks like Malcolm Gladwell, Seth Godin, Jason Fried. I think, and what I think I have liked about them is really, I think there's just a lot of like wisdom. It's not like, doesn't feel like bouncing all over the place, following every every new tactic or channel, it feels a little more, 35,000 feet. This is sort of wisdom that will prevail, whether it's this tactic or that tactic that's working right now. And obviously, like Jason Fried and 37 Signals and that group, they've, I think, kind of always have brought like a contrarian perspective to the way companies run, and also the way marketing should be done. That I think is always a super helpful sort of reality check to keep yourself from really getting sucked into whatever that latest trend is as well. So that's definitely a few that I've kind of always gone back to.
Okay, cool. All right, so just to wrap up, where can people go to find out more about your services and or your products?
Yeah, you can find us at tenspeed.io, TENSPEED.io, and you can reach us at hello@tenspeed.io.
Cool. All right, then. Thanks for your time, Nate. Really appreciate that. And yeah, we'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Okay, thanks.